How's it going, folks, and welcome back to Alpine. Today we have the 7th race of the race calendar. We're heading to Monaco. Yesterday I set a like goal of 1,000 likes and you guys hit it in a matter of hours. So with that in mind, today's like goal for an episode tomorrow, 1,200. Don't let me down, otherwise I'm going to rush this video out and rush out a video for tomorrow that I don't get to upload. And that would make me sad. You don't want to see me sad. Leave a like. Shall we get into things? I'm excited for this one, although often Monaco's decided on the Saturday. Now, before we get into things today, something a little bit exciting, a little bit different, I suppose, to kick things off. Esteban Ocon has a development point that I didn't realise he had. Now, of all of his kind of performance bits, I want to call these attributes, but I don't know if that's the actual term the game uses. It's what I'd call them if I was playing Football Manager. We'll call them his attributes. You can see here, he's a pretty good driver on the whole, but to be honest, his braking is the one thing with his overall pace that lets him down a little. So with our 1 point, which we're not going to spend all at once, although we kind of are, we're going to add something to his braking. And, oh, okay, I didn't realise he was going to be that close to a level up. Esteban Ocon is now level 86, which makes him better than Fernando Alonso officially. Alonso doesn't have any development points. Does Piastri have any? He doesn't at the moment. To be honest, Piastri's development isn't going to be that exciting. We're going to be putting, I think, everything into smoothness for the foreseeable future. His actual racecraft isn't particularly good. His actual pace and consistency is great, except 51 smoothness. The man eats tyres for breakfast. Now, ahead of Monaco, unfortunately, we have no new upgrades. There's no new facilities happening. It's only been a week since the last race, but just so you can see how we stack up heading to Monte Carlo, you can see here our low speed cornering isn't very good. Our medium speed cornering is a tiny bit better. To be honest, I think it's going to be difficult to get both drivers into the final qualifying session today, but with Monaco being a very, very tight and windy track, a track where it's difficult to overtake, you want to get as good a qualifying as you can. This is kind of the ultimate test for drivers in terms of their consistency, in terms of actually trying to make overtakes happen. You have one DRS zone, that drag reduction zone is on the start-finish line. You can see it with the green dashed bits. We might see an overtake there. That is probably the one chance you have of making a move, in all honesty. So I am going to be realistic with our sponsorship targets here. I've said that we'll get a driver into the final session and we'll get a driver in the top 10. If both drivers finish outside the top 10, I would be a little bit disappointed, even if I'm not really expecting fireworks from us today. So the practice sessions this week aren't going to be particularly productive because there is heavy rain throughout, but Friday is the only day it's raining. Good news for us is it should be a dry Saturday. It should be a dry Sunday. I think you guys know the deal by now. Fernando Alonso, he's aged 40. He's not going to improve as a driver. Piastri's the future. I need to give him practice sessions, give him a bit of experience in the car. So as has been the case pretty much all weekend, and every other weekend this season, he's going to sit in the car and get a little bit of work experience under his belt. So it looks like there were some representative laps done during the final practice session, and looking at it, you can see here, our driver's down in 11th and 14th. That really isn't where I want to be. It's kind of where I expect to be. If we could get a driver into the top 10, that would be ideal. I have a sneaking suspicion, compared to last weekend at least, this weekend it's going to be a longer race. It's going to be a longer Saturday. This qualifying really could make or break our race week. Let's go see how we get on, shall we? Okay, so full disclosure here. This was a weird qualifying session, as you're about to see, across the entire of the Saturday, really. We kicked things off by going for the typical early flying laps that I like to go for right at the beginning of the session, and unfortunately, we came across a wild Canadian Lance Stroll in his natural habitat, blocking the faster cars in his Aston Martin. And unfortunately for us, not only did he block Esteban, but he did also manage to block Alonso these opening laps of Q1. A little bit of a write-off. It has been announced that, well, Frontier are looking into the back markers and the blocking issues that exist. So hopefully that's going to be fixed in the next update that's due in a couple of weeks. What it did mean, though, was for Q1, we were going to have to go out again. And in Alonso's case, we absolutely had to improve. He was down in 16th. Good news for us was we got him out first out of all the cars to go out for their final laps. And when he crossed the line, he was quick. Actually, much quicker than I expected us to be. He was only 0.2 of a second behind Valtteri Bottas, faster than Carlos Sainz as well. As for Ocon, he was a couple of cars behind, trailing behind George Russell, who went second quickest, but he managed to go 7th fastest, and with that, we knew that we were going to be through, but for the first time in this entire Let's Play, a little bit of a surprise in Q1. Perez was stuck behind the Williams of Alexander Albon, who did not go quick. And as a result of that, one Red Bull out of the session already. That was mad. As for Q2, good news, we didn't have traffic. You can see on the 2D overview, number 9, number 6, both our cars, well, with no one around them, and that meant clean laps to kick things off. And I was very, very happy with these times. They were good times. There were times that would have been quick in the previous session. They were quick enough in this one as well to put us, obviously, in a good spot to kick things off. But here's where, well, some weirdness begins, because with 2.5 minutes left of the session, I send out my cars, but you can see on track Carlos Sainz and Mick Schumacher doing cool-down laps. Now, those two cars have just done flying laps, but as a result of where they are on track, they're not going to be able to go out again. And you can see, I'm on board with Ocon looking behind, and I'm sat thinking, why is the AI not sending out the cars? And the answer was, I don't know why they didn't sound out the cars, but no one sent out their cars. Yep, that's right. Q2, end of the session. I sent our drivers out in P4 and P5. The AI, none of the teams sent anyone out. Now, I think it was probably down to Sainz and Mick Schumacher being on the track. The AI just saw that as traffic. It's a weird bug. I've never seen it before. As a result of that, well, Verstappen was out the session. Yeah, Verstappen did not go on to improve his time. He was out. As for Q3, familiar story. Pierre Gasly blocked us, exiting the pit lane. Now, to be fair, of all the tracks to get blocked on, Monaco is perhaps the most realistic. But what it did mean was our drivers, after the initial laps of Q3, were running 9th and 10th. We had to go better in this session. And I was a bit anxiously playing here thinking, is the AI teams, are they going to send out their drivers this time? Good news, everyone. All the cars did hit the track at the end of the session, so everyone was going to go again. In some ways, it perhaps would have been to our benefit if they didn't. As you can see, both our drivers right at the very bottom, they lost so much time with Pierre Gasly where they encountered him. But as we cross the line here with Alonso, a great little lap for the Spanish driver, enough to take him up to P3. Ocon, a tiny bit slower by comparison, but obviously everyone else on track possibly going to improve their times. Bottas had looked quick. Hamilton had looked quick. Carlos Sainz crossed the line next. Could he go faster than his teammate? He couldn't. Next down the road for us really was Russell that we need to worry about. Hamilton right at the very back. Keep an eye on him at the end. George Russell in our rival Mercedes car went faster than Alonso and knocked him down. It got a little worse for Alonso as well. Bottas took 4th. Ocon now all the way down in 8th. Was looking unlikely Mick Schumacher would knock him down any further, so Ocon going to have to settle for 8th. But all eyes on Lewis Hamilton here. Currently running P7. His teammate had shown this car had speed. Did it have enough here, though? He crossed the line. He went quicker, but not quick enough to knock Alonso down the pecking order. 6th fastest for him. And at the end of a weird and wonderful qualifying session, 2 Ferraris on the front row, a Red Bull out in Q1 and Q2. Expect to see Verstappen and Perez trying to make something happen. But it's going to be a very difficult weekend for them to recover those cars, Red Bull. 5th for Alonso, 8th for Ocon. We're not going to complain about that at all. A bit of fortune with the Red Bull situation. Both cars getting blocked in different sessions. But we don't care about that. We're in double points. Let's see if we can hold on to these positions. It's going to be a big race day. To Monaco, we go. So let's talk strategy for this Grand Prix. And to be honest, Monaco is a one-stop track. Sometimes you'll get a safety car. Very often you won't. It's kind of bizarre, actually. The game's recommended strategy, strategy A, involves going on softs and actually running them to a point where they're kind of dangerously shredded up and worn down and then moving on to the hards. You could choose to play it a little safer by going to the mediums. Even then, it's a tiny bit marginal. The only really other kind of option you have is maybe to go on the hards early and then basically from lap 45 onwards, hope that you're going to get a safety car and then either go onto the mediums or the softs to end. But to be honest, given where we are on the track, given our current placement, I think we just have to go for the safe, potentially boring strategy of starting on mediums, going on to hards, and kind of taking it from there. I expect most other people to do the one-stopper at this track. Track position is key. If you're in front of another car, you're going to make it awkward for them to pass. Let's go and see if the race can defy my expectations. And, well, maybe we can make up a position or two. Alonso's in 5th. Ocon's in 8th. Let's do this.
Quite a few clouds overhead as we look at the lineup on the grid. Looking here at Fernando Alonso. They're in the front half of the pack, so there's plenty of potential for them. Further back, we've got Esteban Ocon. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. The race start is mere seconds away. It's time for one of the most exciting races in the world. This is the Monaco Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Okay, folks, here we are. We'll see if anyone gets their shoulders out and maybe makes contact going into this first section. You can see here the track is so narrow, side by side. The cars really have to squeeze their way through. I suppose the good news for us here is we've not lost any positions. The bad news, we've not managed to gain any either. Alonso running up in 5th, Ocon down in 8th. We're currently on board with Ocon, just getting a lovely view of the cars in front. This upcoming corner here, the slowest corner on the F1 calendar. The slowest corner that you'll see us take all year. And apparently, already our tyres are overheating this soon in. Of course, with traffic running behind cars so closely, the tyres are going to get warmer that little bit quicker. You might occasionally be able to make a dive bomb move here. Surely not Esteban. Esteban. This is not a place to try and make the overtake happen. But, well, he tried. He really did try it, unfortunately. You're not really going to make a move happen there. Realistically, that chicane there, going down that hill out the tunnel and the start-finish straight, the two, well, best opportunities to make a move. Occasionally in real life, you might see a move into these last couple of corners, but playing F1 Manager, I've not really seen that happen yet. Just looking at tyre strategies, lots of people running lots of different tyres here, which is a little bit surprising. Those on the softs are very likely to pit soon in this race and move on to hards. In doing that, they might find themselves pitting and ending up coming out alongside some of these other cars running longer into the race. On the mediums, we're going to try and stay out as long as we can. Hopefully, as the pack spread out, we can find a nice little slot to pop into where we're not stuck behind the slower cars. As I mentioned, there is maybe a chance of an overtake here, but it has to be a very, very ballsy move. And from as far back as Fernando Alonso is there, it ain't going to happen. We now need to go on neutral. We did leave our cars in deploy there to maybe try and close the gap and then look for an overtake. But I think the early opportunity has gone. So DRS has now been enabled for what it's worth. DRS, of course, only available on the start-finish straight. You can see here the pack is actually separating a little more than I expected. Behind Esteban Ocon, there is already a gap to Lando Norris, and he is holding back, well, some of the faster cars behind. You look at the likes of, Verstappen here. He is just stuck behind Mick Schumacher. As for Perez, I don't even know if he's made up a position yet in this race. The Red Bull's running in P12 and P17. The Ferrari's leading the charge at the front. This is looking like a disastrous run for the Austrian outfit this race. It's almost certainly going to be a weekend to forget. Yellow flag in Sector 2. You know what? I've talked about this being a slow race. If we got a safety car, that would certainly add some spice. Latifi's apparently gone off. Latifi, turn 7. He was already, I think, running at the back. He was. Was anyone near him? It doesn't look like it, and he's lost the rear then. He's hit the wall. No safety car, no one near him. Probably fortunate, really, for everyone else that no one's near him. He's a little bit accident-prone in game. And, well, with that, no safety car required. Right now, I don't think a safety car would change a great deal. Slightly later on in the race, though, it could cause chaos and a little bit of havoc when it comes to strategies. Bad news for any Nicholas Latifi fans out there. It's lap 7. He's had to pit after having that moment. I think he's had... If he hasn't had to pit, this is going to be even worse. Has he? He has had to pit. He's about to get lapped. We're less than 10% of the way into this race. Not a good day for Williams. As we have Carlos Sainz in second coming up to Latifi, probably worth mentioning. As cars get lapped, that might play, well, into the hands of certain teams. You might see cars struggling to get past the back markers. It's a narrow track. It's a tricky track ordinarily. There's not loads of places to get out the way. Looks like on this occasion, Sainz might get lucky. But don't be surprised if Nicholas Latifi, also on slightly further down the back of the pack, has something to say about the outcome of this race. You might have got a little bit alarmed by our fuel deltas here. The fuel deltas at the start of races are less accurate. They're kind of a projection done on your current usage of your fuel. So if you're maybe saving fuel, if you're pushing hard, it can really fluctuate up and down quite quickly. Yeah, I know it's a big scary number, the -4. I promise we will have enough fuel left at the end of this race unless I really mismanage things horrifically, in which case we don't talk about this moment. And this doesn't make the final cut of the video. So it is lap 14. Esteban Ocon currently stuck behind Pierre Gasly and Hamilton. If we just have a little look, you can see here. There's the three of them working together. The three musketeers. Yeah, just chilling out in 6th, 7th, and 8th. Lando Norris is 9 seconds down the road, and he and Zhou are holding up any hope that Max Verstappen has, really, of making significant gains and getting some significant points. If he could make up one spot, he'd get into the top 10. As for Perez, he has been staring at the back of Sebastian Vettel for the last 14 laps. It might continue for another, what, 64 more. I'm looking at Alonso here. We have closed the gap on Bottas to, well, below a second. I'm just wondering about going deploy here for the end of this lap. The battery's fully charged, by the way, on Alonso. Let's push hard here. Get a little bit aggressive on the tyres. Really, really push. Close the gap on Bottas and just see if we can go for an overtake on the start-finish line. I have no idea what Bottas's battery life is going to be like. Bottas is also running on the medium tyres. We now go on to overtake. This is the one chance you really have to make a move. Alonso is not a million miles behind here. With battery, could he make something happen? He's going to have DRS. He might have the benefit of the inside line as well. If Alonso can make a move here, it'd be very, very good. But you can see side by side, they are wrestling one another. And that move, just unable to make it stick. But you can kind of see just how difficult it is to overtake. So just as a little reminder, ahead of Alonso, Russell and Leclerc are running the softer tyre. That is a tyre that is going to wear down quicker. They may well have to pit a little sooner than those on mediums. As for ourselves, we're wearing through the mediums, maybe a little bit on the faster side, but not to an alarming rate. Ocon, well, at the moment, he is stuck behind Gasly, who is on the soft tyres. Hamilton as well. Because there's two cars in front of Ocon, it means that Gasly gets DRS on the start-finish line. Makes it very, very unlikely we'd be able to make the move. There is a temptation to maybe have a go this lap. Should I have a go this lap? Probably not. But I do like some racing. You know what? 20 seconds time, we're going to go for it. So we're going to go on deploy with Ocon. We're going to push. We're going to get on the attack. Going to try and close this gap into the final couple of corners. We are right behind the AlphaTauri, which on warm tyres might just struggle a little bit. Now we switch to overtake. You can see that DRS flap opened. Alonso couldn't make this move on a Bottas without it. And you can just see there, just no chance of closing the gap. We are firmly stuck here with Ocon for now. We are a third of the way through this race. Right now, Alonso firmly stuck behind Bottas, who is getting DRS off Russell. And, well, it's the same story for Ocon. Gasly is getting DRS off Hamilton. And it makes a move in the one place where you can maybe make a move impossible. Elsewhere, you might have spotted it. Latifi has just been lapped for a second time by Leclerc and Sainz. He is going to be coming into play maybe in just a moment. George Russell has pitted. Leclerc has pitted. This is interesting. Cars leading their way coming into the pits. Leclerc is about to come out. He's about to come out with a few of the back markers behind him. There is traffic. There is carnage. There is I think this is a Williams of Alexander Albon directly in front of us. Alonso now right behind Bottas, but unfortunately, we are just being blocked. You can see Gasly has also come into the pits. That is going to free up Ocon, maybe to have a go on Hamilton, although Hamilton has got a little further up the road than I realised. We're going to ask Ocon to push a little bit. With Hamilton on his own, he might be there for the taking, as, unfortunately, for Alonso. Well, he's got Bottas ahead, and then Bottas is actually going to be fighting Leclerc here. We're going to get onto deploy and get aggressive. I'm hoping this Williams is going to move out the way. There is still more back markers to navigate. That carnage that I, well, speculated could happen. It is starting to happen here. There is an Aston Martin in front that we're trying to lap. Bottas has managed to clear him. Are we going to find a good moment to get through here? Oh my word, I thought they were about to shut the door on us. Don't be surprised to see some of the cars in front of us on the mediums start to pit. When that happens, I think we're going to look to overcut. I think with both Alonso and Ocon, as soon as we see, well, Bottas and Hamilton pit, we set our cars on deploy, we up the aggressiveness of our drivers, and we try and push for one lap to try and, well, pit and come out ahead of them. It might be our best chance to get a move done because on track, overtakes just aren't happening right now. Oh, Ocon. He's getting blocked by one of the back markers. Carlos Sainz on the mediums has pitted. I'm going to take a gamble here. I'm going to take a gamble on the fact that the cars in front are about to pit. I hope Bottas is about to pit. If he doesn't, I'm going to have to change some settings here. Is the Alfa Romeo going to come in here? We've told Alonso to push. Bottas is in. This is your time to shine. As for Ocon, he's a little further behind Hamilton now. Is Hamilton coming into the pits? He is. Right. Both drivers in the exact same situation. We need them to drive the laps of their lives as well. Alonso's about to come out behind, I think that is Carlos Sainz. So I have now just instructed both our drivers to pit for the harder tyres at the end of this lap. This is not what we wanted to see. I did not account for the fact that Sainz would be in this area blocking us. He is going to limit our ability to get past. We'll still stay as aggressive as we can, but ultimately, this car, Sainz, on the white hard tyre without temperatures into them is going to be going a little slower than I'd like us to be going. Ocon, by comparison, has got clean air to really push in to try and get that move done on Hamilton. Oh, I think this is going to be very, very weird in terms of what happens when we come out. We are going to be pitting with Alonso. We could be coming out side by side with Bottas. He's had his pit. He's done his pit. Hamilton's in a very similar situation. Both our drivers further up the road. Hopefully our pit crew are able to get our 2 stops done quickly. Our pit crew doing their job without mistakes is going to be absolutely critical. You can see both our drivers have given it full beans for this entire lap. Alonso's coming into the pit. Ocon, he's gone purple in Sector 2. He had the fastest Sector 2 that anyone has had so far in this race on those old mediums. Now we pit. Alonso going to be the first to stop for this white hard tyre. He is through and out. Esteban Ocon is going to be the next in. He is also getting that hard tyre on. He is going to come out. Where is Alonso going to come out here? We are eagerly looking. There's George Russell. That's not who we're worrying about. We're worrying about Valtteri Bottas. Where is Bottas in all of this? I'll tell you where he is. He is nowhere to be seen. He makes it through the corner. We've got the move done there with Alonso. That is absolutely massive. Ocon is going to come out. And I'll tell you what, he has come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton. That purple Sector 2, absolutely massive. That was crazy. In Ocon's case, we've used all the battery, so we do now need to try and hold back Hamilton without battery. But if there's a track to hold someone back without ERS, it's this one. Valtteri Bottas is currently getting stopped by our old friend Nicholas Latifi. Bottas is losing some crucial time behind this Williams that won't get out the way right away. I think there was less than a second in it. When this Williams eventually moves, we'll have a good idea of just how much time he lost. You can see he's now down behind by, what, 1.7 seconds. That was a nice little margin to build up there. Thank you, Nicholas Latifi. I was saying thank you to Nicholas Latifi a lap ago. This is about to be a moment where I either thank him or curse him because Esteban Ocon is going to have to get past him sooner rather than later. I think if we push a little bit, we might be able to clear him kind of in the DRS range of the start-finish line. Of course, this is maybe an opportunity for Hamilton to get stuck behind him. That would be the dream scenario. Obviously, Hamilton is going to want to try and follow us through here, but the Williams is in the way. There is nowhere really for the Williams to get out the way right now. Ocon, you can push for as hard as you can here. This is hopefully going to allow us to break DRS next lap. Hamilton will get DRS this lap off the Williams when it eventually gets out of the way. And eventually it will, but not before he's been costed a lot of time. And I'll be honest, we have just benefited massively from the traffic, which is, well, a relief. I feel like we've been on the wrong end of the traffic too often this season. Lap 43, and after Nicholas Latifi did us a favour, both our drivers have managed to maintain the gaps to the cars trailing them. I'm hoping this is going to be plain sailing from here. Good news, Hamilton still 2 seconds behind Ocon. Bad news, Bottas is just sniffing behind Fernando Alonso. He has been behind by under a second for a few laps now and unable to make the move. 24 laps left here. Bottas has been dropped by Alonso, courtesy of a little bit of traffic. Hamilton also losing ground on Ocon. And barring a repeat of last weekend, with an absolute disaster at the very, very death, 4th and 6th, I want to say should be guaranteed, but this is Formula 1. Weird stuff happens. With 14 laps left, Alonso has managed to catch up to the back of George Russell. And I want to say I'm sniffing a podium. I have stuck him on deploy to try and cover and close the gap a little. If we could get into DRS range here, it'd be massive, although I think the gap is going to be a little bit too big on this lap. We've obviously used a lot of battery to catch him up. If we could get right behind him, we'd be able to save a little bit of fuel just by using this slipstream and coasting behind him and maybe recharge the battery for a very, very late attack. Okay, that lap of chasing was perfect. We're in DRS range. We are harvesting. We are breathing down George Russell's neck. There is 11 laps left. More of this, and the podium could be on. I don't want to whisper it too loudly. I think this is the lap to try and make a move on George Russell. We're going to be approaching back marker soon, which is going to give him DRS for at least one more lap. And with 9 laps remaining, there is a window of opportunity. And the window of opportunity, I think, might well be here. It might well be now. We are right up behind him. We're going to switch to overtake, having closed the gap with deploy. Can we try and make something happen here? DRS flap open. We're going to try round the outside. He moves over to cover. I'm immediately going to abandon our pushing strategy. Take 2 in a lap's time. But yeah, with the cars up the road, they're going to be helping out, well, you'd imagine, Russell. They could still, I suppose, impact the race. Latifi continuing to get lapped by everyone. Okay, Alonso not quite as close behind this time. Back on deploy to end the lap. Back on, well, everything cranked up to try and make something happen here. I think Russell is going to be getting DRS here off that Williams car. If nothing else, it's important that we get past the Williams. Nicholas Latifi, get out of the way, son. Only 5 laps left of the race, and back markers ahoy. I think there are 3 of them here in a little bit of a train of their own that ourselves and Russell are going to have to get through. We are going to have DRS, and Russell is not going to have that. I have got to be a little mindful of our fuel here. This is not a great spot for either car to be approaching these back markers. They could really, really influence this race if they're not careful. This is a battle for a podium, just as a little reminder. Just 3 laps left of this race. A few back markers have slowed us down in our hunt of Russell, but to be honest, what they've really allowed is Valtteri Bottas to catch us up. We were 2 or 3 seconds ahead of him at one point. He might be looking to have a sniff on us as well. Latifi's in the pit again. I'm not sure why they're pitting him here. Are they going for fastest lap? Who knows? And, well, through here, we haven't had DRS. I thought Bottas might have a look behind us. He hasn't quite, though, managed to make a move there. I realise we've been talking all about Alonso. Ocon running his own race. He's now 4 seconds ahead of Hamilton. No one ahead of him in the track. He just needs to cruise away here. He can vibe away. Do not go off on the last corner. And he will get 6th. The back marker here, the McLaren, playing a little bit of havoc. Russell has managed to clear him. Our fuel delta is a little close for comfort as well. Good news is we will get some DRS here. The bad news is we have, what, 1 more run through this area to try and make an overtake before we'd be crossing the start-finish line for the final time. We have DRS. We're going to be able to close the gap up a little bit. I have to be wary of the fuel. 2 more laps for Fernando Alonso. If we're trailing behind Russell, that should let us save that last little bit of fuel that we are certainly going to need to save here. We are close behind. We are going to go deploy for these last couple of corners. As we look to get around, we look to get by. We're going to have the help of DRS here as we go down this straight. Every ounce of this battery going to be used to try and make a move happen. But we can't make it happen. And with that, I think that is going to be 4th place. We have to settle for it. 1 kilogram of fuel left. And we have to make it last the rest of this race. It should be fine. It should be straightforward. Esteban Ocon hasn't been lapped, and as a result, does still have to do another lap in all of this. Round the final few corners with Fernando Alonso. The fuel, very, very marginal come the end. Bottas maybe going to have to look at the very, very end. Can he make the move happen? I'll tell you what, that was way closer than I wanted to see it at the very end. But Alonso holds on for 4th. He's not run out of fuel yet. As for Ocon, he is going to be the final driver to complete a lap. 6th place for him. A lonely, lonely drive. But some big, big points for us. The only downside, I suppose, Mercedes, our big rival, getting 3rd and 7th. So not really making up the ground on them that we'd like to see from, well, that kind of finish. In the end, not the most eventful race. But what I will say is, in terms of Ocon and Alonso's races, we did things pretty much as well as we could have done. Everyone went for a 1-stop except Nicholas Latifi, who was lapped 5 times. In the end, you can see Leclerc got fastest lap. Ferrari locked out the front 2. Russell came in 3rd. Alonso making up that 1 spot in the pits over Bottas. Alonso making up 2 spots in this race, of course. One of those was over Lewis Hamilton. All in all, we got the strategy right. We did okay. It's as good as we could have hoped for. Probably better than what we expected going into things. But as I said, unfortunately, Mercedes do actually end up gaining 1 more point than us by virtue of the fact they were able to secure that 3rd place. Over in the Drivers' Championship, Fernando Alonso slips down to 7th. That because of George Russell moving up 2 places with his 15 points. As for Esteban Ocon, he continues to be in 8th place, securing another 8 points, building a little bit of a gap over the likes of Bottas and Gasly, who earlier on in the year were pushing us. If you thought Monaco was a little bit uneventful, fret not. Baku is up next. We are flying to Azerbaijan, 11 days away, a race that very often provides some drama. And you know what? We start this episode giving Ocon a point. We now can give Fernando Alonso a point. I'm going to add a point to his cornering. And with that, he's now 86 overall too. So our drivers are just mirror images of one another. This episode has just been one big mirror where it started and ended with the same stuff. I promise next time out things won't quite be as predictable. Baku has a habit of having some wild races, some big crashes, safety cars to be expected. So yeah, I'm already looking forward to that one in the very near future. Like I said at the start of things, if you did enjoy this video, do drop a like on it. If we hit that target of 1,200 likes, we'll be doing Baku tomorrow. You want to see it, I want to see it. Everyone wants to see it. I want to play more F1 Manager here with Alpine. So if you want to see it, make it happen. Leave a like. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully for more. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And other than that, it's me, Jack. And yeah, I'll catch you all next time. I'm out.